Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to our live session today. As discussed, today we are going to discuss tenses and voices, but we will not be able to finish all the chapters or all the topics in tenses and voices. So I have decided to divide the lecture into two parts. So today we're going to discuss part one of tenses and voices. All right. Okay, then. So let's begin. Let's just start straight away. We have tenses and voices, part one. Today we look into the present tenses, the simple present tense, present continuous tense, present perfect tense, and the present perfect continuous tense. Okay? All right. So these are the topics that we will cover over the course of the next 2 days. Actually today and tomorrow, over the course of today and tomorrow, inshallah. So we have simple present tense, we have present continuous tense, we have present perfect tense, present perfect continuous tense, simple past tense, past continuous tense, past perfect tense, past perfect continuous tense, simple future tense, future continuous tense, future perfect tense, future perfect continuous tense, active voice, and passive voice. All right, so yes, we are going to start with simple present tense. And what do we have here? Simple present tense. We talk in the simple present tense to refer to regular actions or habits, current situations, or facts in general. We talk in the simple present tense to refer to regular actions or habits, current situations, or facts in general. So I've outlined four circumstances or four rules or four circumstances in which you can talk in the simple present tense, or we use four circumstances in which we use the simple present tense, right? Circumstance one being when we talk, or circumstance one is when we need to refer to regular actions or habits or current situations or facts in general, such as, for example, David complains a lot because he is an impatient person. David complains a lot because he is an impatient person, right? Okay, this is just one general truth, or a regular action or a regular habit or a current situation, right? So to refer to current situations, to talk about regular actions or regular habits, we can employ the simple present tense, right? Also some general facts and general truths, or as known as, or better known as universal truths, such as man is mortal. And then you have the sun rises in the east, sets in the west. So all these general truths or universal truths are in the simple present tense, right? So whenever you want to talk about a repeated action or a regular action, right? Something that takes place again and again, and every now and then, talk about such actions or events in the simple present tense. Okay, all right. Moving on to circumstance number two. So we talk in the simple present tense to refer to long-lasting or permanent situations. Also to talk about permanent situations or long-lasting situations, we can employ the simple present tense, like the example under circumstance two. John works for his father's construction company. John works for his father's construction company. So here, John working for his father's construction company is a permanent situation. It's a long-lasting situation, right? Therefore, since it is a long-lasting and it is a continued action, and an action that is taking place for a long time and will continue to take place for a long time, we can just say it in the simple present tense instead of saying it in the present continuous tense, right? All right. So under what circumstances should we choose to speak in the present continuous tense is something we will look into later. But for now, we should know that to talk about long-lasting or permanent situations, we can employ the simple present tense, right? We can talk in the simple present tense, like the example under circumstance two. John works for his father's construction company. Number three, we talk in the simple present tense to refer to actions which are going to happen. We talk in the simple present tense to refer to actions which are going to happen very soon or future actions which happen regularly according to a timetable or a schedule, right? Take note of this. We talk in the simple present tense. We talk in the simple present tense to refer to actions which are going to happen very soon, or future actions which happen regularly according to a timetable or a schedule, right? So when you want to talk about an action that you intend to do in the near future, in the very near future, right? You can talk about those future actions or your intention to do the future actions in the simple present tense, right? Such as, for example, you can say the class starts in 15 minutes. So although the class hasn't started yet, right, but it will start in 15 minutes. So instead of saying the class will start in 15 minutes, you can also say the class starts in 15 minutes, right? So you can talk about future actions that happen regularly because you know the class starts at what time, maybe every day or maybe from Monday to Friday. So that is a regular action that takes place, right? Although it's a regular action, but for now it is a future action to you because it hasn't. You're not in that particular time yet, right? Therefore, you choose to speak of that particular action, which is in the future, but you speak of it in the simple present tense. So you say the class starts in 15 minutes, the movie starts in 20 minutes, the show starts in 1 hour, right? I will be there, or the show starts in 15 minutes, or the class starts in 15 minutes, like that. All right? Okay. Circumstance number 4, under which we can talk, or in which we can choose to say things in the simple present tense. We talk in the simple present tense to refer to short actions happening at the time of speaking, especially during sports commentaries. We also do so during reviews of plays, films, or books. Okay? So, when you want to talk about short actions that are happening right at the time of speaking, right? And especially those actions are basically commentaries, right? I mean, like you're making a commentary on an ongoing cricket match or an ongoing football match, right? So when you're making commentary or when you're doing commentary, right, you should observe, and you will observe the next time you watch a match, that the commentators, they always speak, most of the time they speak in the simple present tense, right? So you say, or they say, for example, Shakib scores a 6 and secures Bangladesh's victory. Shakib scores a 6 and secures Bangladesh's victory. So when you're talking or when you're making commentary, right, you can choose to say, you can choose to do so in the simple present tense. All right? Okay, moving on to the next slide. We have present continuous tense. We talk in the present continuous tense to refer to new habits or repeated actions which happen around the time of speaking or writing. All right. Also for present continuous tense, I have identified 4 circumstances under which we can choose to employ the present continuous tense. We can choose to say things in the present continuous tense under 4 specific circumstances. Circumstance number 1 is when you need to talk about new habits, right? When you have to talk about new habits or repeated actions which happen around the time of speaking or writing, such as, let's take a look at the example under circumstance 1. Evelyn is complaining a lot about her work lately. Evelyn is complaining a lot about her work lately. She used to be a happier person. Now, in this scenario, what do you understand? You see, we're talking about a person and she is complaining a lot about her work lately, right? Meaning she didn't used to complain, right? She didn't used to complain about her work and she used to be a happier person. But lately, which means recently, she has become quite unhappy and she's complaining a lot about her work. So here, is complaining is present continuous, right? So Evelyn is complaining a lot about her work lately. The sentence is in the present continuous. So here you can see we are basically using the present continuous tense to refer to an action that has become that is repetitive, that is happening and is quite new, right? It is happening. It hasn't been happening for a long time. It has been happening for not much, as in like this has been happening for only a short period of time, not for a long time, right? So you can say this is a new habit, right? Something that has been happening for maybe a week, for maybe a month, right? So something that has been happening recently, right? Okay, so to refer to new habits or repeated actions which happen around the time of speaking or writing, we can use the present continuous tense. Circumstance number 2, we talk in the present continuous tense to refer to situations which are temporary or situations that last for a short period of time around the time of speaking. Here again, you want to talk about something that is happening, but you know that this will not happen for a long time. This will not continue to happen for a long time. This is only going to happen for a very short period of time, right? So to talk about such situations and such circumstances, of course, you can employ the present continuous tense, like in the example under circumstance 2. Anas is looking after his father's business until his father recovers from his illness. Anas is looking after his father's business until his father recovers from his illness. Okay, so here we can see that Anas, our subject, is looking after his father's business until a time. So this action, whichever action that whatever he is doing, right, is not going to continue forever. It will continue until a certain period of time, until the person's father gets better, right? The moment the father gets better and takes charge of the business, Anas will not be anymore looking after the business. Right? So Anas is looking after his father's business until his father recovers from his illness. We talk about such circumstances where an action is not going to last forever and is only lasting for a short period of time. We can choose to describe such actions or such circumstances in the present continuous tense. Okay. Circumstance number 3. We talk in the present continuous tense to refer to planned future actions. We talk in the present continuous tense to refer to planned future actions, right? So you've planned something and that you are going to do so, and you will do so maybe in the near future, right? So this is something planned. So to talk about such planned future actions, you can choose to use the present continuous tense, like in the example under circumstance 3. I am visiting my grandparents on the coming weekend. I am visiting my grandparents on the coming weekend, right? So here you can definitely say that I will visit my grandparents on the coming weekend. That's fine. But when you say I am visiting my grandparents on the coming weekend, it means that you will do so, and you're talking about it in the present continuous tense, which is absolutely fine. All right. Number 4, we talk in the present continuous tense to refer to actions happening at the time of speaking or writing. We talk in the present continuous tense to refer to actions happening at the time of speaking or writing. The training team is meeting to decide the trainee's progress. Also, of course, the most common usage, the most common necessity or the most common usage or use of the present continuous tense is when you want to talk about something that is ongoing as you speak of it, right? So the training team is meeting to decide the trainee's progress, meaning something which is happening the moment you're speaking it, all right? The moment you're speaking about it. So the training team is meeting to decide the trainee's progress. Or right now, I'm lecturing on the present continuous tense. Right now, I am lecturing on the present continuous tense. Here, as you can see, I said I'm lecturing. It's in the present continuous tense, all right? Okay, moving on to the next slide, we have present perfect tense. Now, present perfect tense is a vast chapter in its own right, and we will look into it in detail. Okay. We use the present perfect tense, like the simple past tense, to talk about completed actions. This is very important and a little tricky, so I would request you to pay as much attention as possible, right? Okay, so we use the present perfect tense like the simple past tense to talk about completed actions. However, unlike the simple past tense, which is used with definite time phrases, we do not state the exact time of an action with the present perfect tense. Okay? So, there is a similarity between present perfect tense and the simple past tense. We know about the simple past tense that we use the simple past tense when we want to talk about actions that are completed by the time you're speaking about the actions, right? But similarly, present perfect tense as well is used for actions that have been completed and are done with by the time you're speaking about the actions, right? But the only difference is when you talk in the, in the simple past tense, you also mention the timing of that action. But in the present perfect tense, you do not mention the timing of the action. Okay, I'll read this out again for you. We use the present perfect tense, like the simple past tense, to talk about completed actions, actions that are completed, actions that are no longer ongoing. However, unlike the simple past tense, which is used with definite time phrases, meaning simple past tense is used with definite time phrases. We do not, however, state the exact time of an action with the present perfect tense. Examples will make this concept clearer. Simple past tense, right? Take a look at the first example. Pat conducted a workshop for young working adults last week, right? When you say this, you mean, of course, that someone conducted something, did something in the past, and exactly when you mention so, right? You say last week, meaning this happened last week. It's a completed action at a definite time. But in the present perfect tense, the very situation can be said in the present perfect tense as well. The very situation can be described in the present perfect tense as well. So you say, Pat has conducted a workshop for young working adults. Note, in this particular scenario, in this particular example, you have not mentioned exactly when the thing happened, right? So Pat has conducted a workshop for young working adults, completed action with no exact time given. You see? So when you say, I had my breakfast at 8 a.m. in the morning, at 8 a.m. I had my breakfast at 8 in the morning, right? So you can say that I had my breakfast, which is in the past tense, the simple past tense, and this is so because you have mentioned the exact time when exactly you had your breakfast. So I had my breakfast at 8 in the morning. But if you choose to not say the time of it, right? The timing of your action. If you choose not mention the timing or the time of your action, then you can switch to the present perfect tense and you can just say that I have had my breakfast. I have had my breakfast. That's it, right? Okay. Many of you are actually asking me questions that you did not receive the quiz yesterday, right? Well, that is because you did not register. You need to register again, right? Since this is a new course, of course, this course has relevance with the previous course. But then again, for this very course, you need to re-register, right? So those of you who have not registered have not received the quiz, right? But those who did receive the quiz yesterday. Okay, so I would request you all to register again with us, and I will send you the quizzes that you haven't received yet. Okay, all right. Moving forward, we have the second circumstance where we use the present perfect tense. We use the present perfect tense with words like since and for to refer to an action that began in the past and is still going on at the time of speaking. We use the present perfect tense with words like since and for to refer to an action that began in the past and is still going on at the time of speaking, right? So we use the time phrases or words like since and for to refer to an action that began in the past and is still ongoing at the time of speaking. And at the same time, we explain or describe so in the present perfect tense. All right, let's look at the examples over here. Simple past tense. I studied in this college for 5 years. I studied in this college for 5 years. I am no longer there. I studied in this college for 5 years. I'm no longer there. Present perfect tense. I have studied in this college for 5 years. I'm still here. Now, what is the difference between the two examples? In the first example, in the sentence where you have the simple past tense, or in the sentence described in simple past tense, it says that I studied in this college for 5 years. When you say I studied in this college for 5 years, you clearly mean that you don't study in the college any longer, right? You used to study there and you completed your studies, right? So you say I studied in this college for 5 years. But when you say I have studied in this college for 5 years, you connote somehow, you describe that, I have studied in this college for 5 years, meaning that you still study in that college. Or maybe, just maybe, you have recently finished your studies in that college, right? So I have studied in this college for 5 years. Okay. Simple past tense, in the very next example, we have I was in this college in 2018, meaning I'm no longer there. When you say I did something in that year or in another year, you mean your action, which clearly took place in the past, and you're done with it, right? But when you say, I have been in this college since 2018, you mean you're still in the college, you joined the college in 2018, and you're still here in the college, or you're still there in the college, okay? Actually, we have a question here. I would like to address this question. Sultan Al Arafat is this question. Is it totally wrong to mention specific time frame in case of using simple past form? No, it is not wrong. It wouldn't be wrong if you said, for example, that I went to see my grandfather. That's fine. But to be absolutely sound grammatically, it's better if you come up with a time frame, right? For example, say exactly when you went and met your grandfather. So you could say that I met my grandfather yesterday, or I went and visited my grandfather the day before yesterday. This way, your sentence is more complete and grammatically stronger. All right? I hope this is clear. Okay. I hope this, everything is clear so far. That when you say that I was in this college in 2018, you mean, of course, that this thing happened clearly in the past. But when you say that I have been in this college since 2018, you mean you're still here in this college. You joined the college in 2018, and you've been here since then. Okay? All right. Moving on. We have the third circumstance under which we can use the present perfect tense. We use the present perfect tense and not the simple past tense. We use the present perfect tense and not the simple past tense with certain adverbs of time, such as already and just, to show completed actions, and yet to show that an action is expected to happen but has not taken place until the point of speaking. I'll clarify this again for you. We use the present perfect tense and not the simple past tense with certain adverbs of time, such as already and just. Remember, to talk about situations in the present perfect tense, sometimes you need to employ or use certain adverbs of time, such as already and just, to show that the actions are completed, or the actions have already been completed, right? And we use the adverb of time yet to show that an action is expected to happen but is not taking place until the point of speaking, right? That something is expected to happen but has not yet happened until the time of speaking, until the point of speaking, right? Okay. However, take a look at the second paragraph, the next paragraph. We use never and ever. We use the adverbs of time never and ever with the present perfect tense. With the present perfect tense to refer to a time frame that began in the indefinite past and continues up to the present. We do not use these words with the simple past tense. So such adverbs of time, such as already, just, yet, never, ever, these are some adverbs of time that are never used with the simple past tense, that are never used when you're describing something in the simple past tense. These are used specifically when you're describing situations in the present perfect tense. Okay? And never and ever. When do you use never and ever? You use never and ever to show or to talk about or to describe something that began in the indefinite past and is continued until the point of your speaking, until the point of your description. Okay? Examples. Let's take a look at the examples. Examples number one. They have already signed the agreement with our firm. They have already signed the agreement with our firm. Here, by the word already, by the adverb of time already, you mean that the action has already been completed, right? Meaning it's done. Maybe it was expected to be done a little later, but it has already been done. All right, it has been finished. So a completed action. Example number two. Have you ever noticed the squirrels in our park? Did you notice them in the past? Have you noticed them up to now? So when you say, have you ever noticed the squirrels in our park? Meaning from time indefinite, or from a time in the past, which is an indefinite time in the past, you don't know since when, right? From that time onwards, since then on, have you noticed the squirrels in the park, right? So by the choice of the word ever, you mean that something that has been going on from an indefinite past, since an indefinite past, and is still going on, is still carrying on, right? So when you say, I have never lied to anyone, follow this. When you say, I have never lied to anyone, right? You mean that from as far back as you can remember, right? As far back as you can remember, you have never actually lied to anyone. From the indefinite past until the point of you are speaking, you have not lied to anyone. Okay? So you use the words ever and never to describe such situations. Okay. Moving forward, we have the fourth circumstance under which we use the present perfect tense. We use the present perfect tense to refer to a time frame that began in the recent past and is not yet over, and is not over yet at the point of speaking. Okay. So you see, you've been doing something, and maybe you've finished it, or maybe something you've begun in the recent past and you're still doing it. So you want to talk about something like that. So what do, you employ the present perfect tense. Examples: I have not seen Linda this week. She has been so busy. You see, follow this. I have not seen Linda this week. She has been so busy. So the effect of this is very recent, is still present, right? The week is not over yet. So maybe, which day are we in today? It's Wednesday, right? All right. So, you see a friend of yours and you tell your friend that, I haven't seen that friend, maybe another friend. I haven't seen him this week, meaning recently you have not met him. And you're also mentioning the time to explain better that the issue is very much present. As in, now, I have not seen Linda this week and the week isn't over yet. Okay? Example number 2, I haven't had time for breakfast. I haven't had time for breakfast. I've only had a cup of tea in the morning. I have only had a cup of tea in the morning. The morning is not over yet, and you're still very much in the morning, and you're saying that you haven't had breakfast, meaning you've not had it, and you've only had a cup of tea. Okay? So an action that has taken place in the recent past, but the effect of it is still ongoing, is still carrying on, right? So to describe certain circumstances, to talk of such situations, you employ the present perfect tense. Okay. Now, present perfect continuous tense. Now we talk about the present perfect continuous tense. What about this? We use the present perfect continuous tense for an action or situation which began in the past and continues up to the point of speaking. The action may not be finished at the point of speaking. So when you talk about something in the present perfect continuous tense, right, you mean that something has begun in the recent past, something began in the past, and is still ongoing as you speak of it, right? And the action is not finished yet, as in until the point of you are speaking, the action is not done. Okay, it's not finished. On the other hand, however, we use the present perfect tense to refer to an action which began in the past and continues to the present. However, the action is finished to the point of speaking. Okay. Here, before you try to understand what present perfect continuous tense is, you need to first understand the difference between present perfect tense and present perfect continuous tense. In the continuous sense, or in the continuous tense, you see, what you do is you want to talk about an action that began in the past and is still ongoing, is continued, and is still ongoing until the point of your description. And the action isn't finished yet, is not finished yet. However, on the other hand, when you talk of something in the present perfect tense, not the present perfect continuous, but just the present perfect tense, you mean that something began in the past, has continued up to the present, but by the present, by the point of your speaking, by the point of your description of the action is finished. The action is completed. The action is done with. Okay? Let's take a look at the examples. Number 1, I have been trying to solve this physics problem for the past couple of hours. I have been trying to solve this physics problem for the past couple of hours. When you say this, what do you mean? You mean that you began solving an issue 2 hours ago, and you're still doing so. Your action of trying is not finished yet. Your action of solving, or your action of trying to solve the problem, is not finished yet. So you choose to say or describe the situation in the present perfect continuous tense. So you say, I have been trying to solve this physics problem for the past couple of hours. The action is not finished yet. Okay. In the second example, I have tried to solve this physics problem, but I don't know how to do this, or I don't know how to do it. When you say so, you mean that you began doing so. Maybe you were doing so, but now you have finished. Now you ended your action. You finished your action. You stopped trying, but you stopped trying very recently. The effect of your trying is very much present as you speak of it, as you describe your scenario, as you describe your situation. I have tried to solve this physics problem, but I don't know how to do it. The action of trying is over. Okay? All right. Moving on to the next slide, we have present perfect continuous tense. And the second circumstance under which we can use, or we can say things in the present perfect continuous tense. We can describe situations in the present perfect continuous tense. We use the present perfect continuous tense to refer to a series of repeated actions or situations that began in the past and has continued to the present. Examples: for the past 3 weeks, Sylvia and I have been discussing the final arrangements for the graduation dinner. The discussion is ongoing for the past 3 weeks, right? So, likewise, something has been going on for quite some time now. It began clearly in the past and is still going on as you speak of it. So for the past 3 weeks, over the course of the past 3 weeks, and those 3 weeks are not over yet. You're very much within the 3 weeks. You're very much within that time frame. So you say, for the past 3 weeks, Sylvia and I have been discussing the final arrangements for the graduation dinner. The discussion is ongoing for the past 3 weeks. Sylvia and I have already discussed. Sylvia and I have already discussed the final arrangements for the graduation dinner. When you say this, have already discussed, which is in the present perfect tense, you mean the discussion is very recently completed. You're done discussing. You've finished your discussion. So Sylvia and I have already discussed the final arrangements for the graduation dinner. Here, you did not choose, or you haven't chosen to describe your situation in the present perfect continuous tense, but only in the present perfect tense, meaning that your discussion is completed. Your discussion is done. But if you wanted to say that you are still discussing, you could say, we have been discussing, or Sylvia and I have been discussing the issue for the past 3 weeks. Okay? All right. Then we have present perfect continuous tense and the very final circumstance under which we can use so. We use the present perfect continuous tense to refer to an action that is temporary. Follow this. We use the present perfect continuous tense to refer to an action that is temporary in nature and that lasts for a short duration of time. We use the present perfect tense to refer to an action that is more permanent in nature and lasts for a longer duration of time. Follow this. To talk about situations that are temporary and that lasts, or that is going to last for, an action that is temporary in nature and is going to last for a very short period of time, you can choose to explain or talk of it or describe the scenario, the situation, the present perfect continuous tense. Such as, for example, I have been practicing tennis every morning since the school holidays began. Follow this. I have been practicing tennis every morning since the school holidays began. So your school holidays are not going to last forever, right? So the school is going to remain closed until a time in the near future. And since the school is not going to be closed forever, this holiday is very temporary. And you're doing something in that holiday, during the holiday, right? So you want to talk of it. So you say, I have been doing this since school closed, meaning the school will open again. The school will reopen, and you will have to stop doing what you were doing during the holiday, right? Until the school is closed. So you say, I have been practicing. So you switch to the present perfect continuous mode. I have been practicing tennis every morning since the school holidays began. Temporary action, something taking place for a short period of time. But to talk of something that is permanent, or that has been happening for a long time, and that will continue to happen for a long time, or that has already happened for a long time, you can talk of it or describe it in the present perfect tense, not the present perfect continuous tense. Like in the second example under the scenario, I have practiced tennis twice a week for the past 2 years. I have practiced tennis twice a week for the past 2 years. Here, your action was long, or the duration of your action was long, and you're done with it. And you've done it for a long time, for 2 years, long time, right? So I have practiced tennis twice a week for the past 2 years. Okay, so yes, this is pretty much it. I know, tenses are a bit tricky and a little difficult to grasp and get in our system. But if we keep on practicing every day, right? If we can do so, I don't see why we cannot really master tenses. Since it's not really possible to discuss all the tenses in one day, which is why I have divided the lessons. And today I've only chosen to discuss the present tenses. So we've discussed simple present tense, we've discussed the present continuous tense, we've discussed the present perfect tense, and finally, and lastly, we've discussed the present perfect continuous tense. Okay, tomorrow we will continue and we'll begin with simple past tense, inshallah. All right. Okay, so this is it for now. If you have any questions, do let me know in the comment section. I'll try to get back to you, inshallah. And yes, this is it for today, and hope to see you all tomorrow again. So stay well and take care. Thank you.